today we're here with the humble strawberry. Strawberries are a pivotal fruit in any garden. You can plant them wherever. They don't take up a lot of space. They don't go very deep into the ground. They're very cold hardy. They come back year after year here in zone 6. I believe they go from zone 4 all the way down to 9. And they'll come back year after year. You won't have to buy many of them because they propagate so easily. They can take over if you let them. And you know, they require little fertilization. They're just a great plant, and it's awesome to avoid, if you can, the strawberries at the store. Buying store-bought strawberries, those are loaded with pesticides. Anything they can do to keep the pests away is what they'll resort to, so they can sell them to you, obviously. But growing them yourself, it's very easy. You can avoid all that nasty gunk. You don't want that in your body. You really don't. If you can avoid it, it's a great way to do it. You'll get tons of fruit out of it. You can take the extra plants, you can give them to your friends, give them to your neighbors, make new friends. Strawberries are great. So I guess where would you plant them? You could plant them in the stacked pots. Those are great. You can start at the top, send the runners down, and then just keep, you know, cascading the plant down until you have a ton of them. You can plant them along your fence line. Like I said, you can plant them under your fruit trees. You can plant them under your bushes, anywhere you'd like. And you know, it's a very low maintenance, low effort fruit, and it can yield tons of fruit in a given amount of time, you know. So you don't have to use these raised beds like I have. Currently, I have them in raised beds because we eat so many of them that it's just worth it currently. Once I find something else down the line that I'd like to put in the beds, I'm not opposed to transplanting them, putting them somewhere else. They'll thrive wherever. They're not too picky, so I can't recommend them enough, especially if you're starting a garden or beginning. They're hard to kill, and you'll have more of them than you know what to do with by the end of the season. It's a great plant. So I'll show you how they propagate. I'll show you how I like to do it as far as spacing goes, as far as when to cut the plant off. Yeah, like I said, it's really easy. There's not much to it, so we'll get into it and we'll go from there. Good to see you again. Alright, so right here is my first bed of strawberries that I planted. I believe I started with 8 plants from one of the local greenhouses and just kind of spaced them out evenly in there, and as time went on, the runners would come and bury themselves and turn into new strawberry plants. And when that happens, you're just going to want to cut the runner, and you can either, you know, keep the plant where it's at, or you can unroot it and put it somewhere else, wherever you'd like. I'll take you over here. I got a couple good examples of what I like to do nowadays, because the runners are very long. They can be, at least not all of them, but let me see if I can get this a little closer. So here's a runner right here, and it'll shoot out. If I let it touch the ground, it would just start a new plant on the ground, which is not what I want. I could take it, I could put it in there, and it would become a new plant right there if I wanted it in that area. But just for this example, I like to take them in pots, and I'll put it right like that, and I'll bury the line. I'm not going to bury the new plant itself where the leaves are. I'll just bury the line, and that right about here, it'll start growing roots. And once it's got enough good root action going on, I'll clip this as close as I can to the mother plant, and I'll clip it maybe about right here. And that's basically it. There's really not a lot to it. it's a very easy process. So I've got another one right here that came out. And you can see the leaves sticking out, and they're pretty active. Like here's another one. Whoa, okay, here's a good example for how long they can get. And that's coming out of the same plant. So this one's shooting all the way across. And I actually might take, while I'm here, I'll take this and give it a nice home right next to his or her little pal. Just like that. I'll have 2 strawberry plants just in that pot. And I've taken some from the early glows. That's this type of strawberry that I really like. And you'll see them just, they'll string around all up in there. And it is good to cut them if you don't need them and you don't want to propagate them. Here's an example of another one. If you don't need them and you don't want to propagate them, just cut them and, you know, use them as mulch or whatever you like. Use them in compost. You don't want too many, like I said, in one bed. This is getting a little chaotic, but I have taken the time to put them over here. There's another one right there. Yeah. Oh, I guess another good tip is if you have a new strawberry plant, you'll see the white flowers popping out. And in order to promote more growth to the plant itself, if you want it to be bushier for next year, or even later in the season, if it's an everbearing variety, you could pull these flowers off, and that'll, you know, send signals back down to the plant that says, hey, I need to get bigger. Because it takes a lot of energy for the plant to grow the fruit, so that's up to you though. For some of these, like some of the new ones I have over here, I believe I got Albion and Sweet Charlie. And some of these were flowering. And I personally am gonna keep them just because I want to know what these taste like. So like here's a good example. Got a couple of fruit coming in right here, a couple flowers, and a bunch of dirt from me weeding. Yeah, it's really easy. Like I said, I put some down along the fence line. I've put them underneath plenty of trees out here. And one of the good things about it is I do have bird netting over this one. But last year I didn't have a problem with birds taking the strawberries. Knock on wood, I suppose. But I've had more problems with the birds getting the blueberries than the strawberries. I've heard of some people painting rocks red and throwing them in the beds. So that way when the birds come by and think it's a strawberry, they just get a beak full of rock. But I mean, the netting works just fine. And then when I want to go pick the fruit, I'll just pull the bamboo stakes out, drape it over, and start grabbing. Yeah, there's really not a lot to it. And as you can see, they do just take off. So if you're in it for the hostile takeover of strawberries, it's a good spot to be. Alright, so these are the highlights of growing your own strawberries. Like I said, they're very easy. If I could push you in a direction of starting, you know, your own grow operation of any kind, unless you don't like strawberries, but I think most people do, it's a great place to start. You don't have to have a lot of space. Like I said, you can grow them on your back porch, you can grow them on your balcony. You don't have to buy too many of them. I would recommend buying the bare root plants. They'll come in a package of like 10 of them for, I don't know, 10 to 15 bucks. And you really can't beat that. You put them in the ground, let the crown out. The crown's just the base part of the plant. You're gonna want to let that out. And yeah, after that, you'll see the runners. You can pot those up and give them to friends after you let it cascade or after you let them spread however far you want. Don't let them get too close together. That'll invite a lot of mold and mildew in, and you don't want to rot the plants. You don't want anything like that. Currently, I have wood chips as mulch in here. This is my first year mulching them. Last year I didn't, and it was a it was a mess. I had to come out here every day, check for them, which I'm not opposed to. That's not a big deal to me. Come out here every day, and the second you'd have a ripe strawberry touch the dirt, it would just be centipede city. So to avoid that this year, I'm trying wood chips, but that might not be the best option. There are other people that like to use straw. I tried that last year, and it just had clover seeds all up in it. So, and depending where you are, the straw you get could be sprayed with all sorts of stuff that you don't want anywhere near you. I've heard horror stories of people buying tons of straw and it just killing everything in the area, everything you put underneath, or everything you put it underneath, it just kind of nukes it. So depending on where you're at, I would avoid it. I've heard people use animal bedding. Now that might be a good option. It seems very cheap. You can get it at like farm stores, you can get it at pet stores, and it's a dime a dozen. You can get a whole bag of it. I haven't checked the prices out, but I know it's really cheap. And it, breaks down. It's not something that's going to stay there forever. And anything you can do to keep the bugs away from your yield, that's you don't want bugs eating it. Those are strawberries for you. So other than that, I really can't think of anything else. Like I said, it was one of the first fruit that I grew on my own, and we eat so much of them that, I got 6 beds of them now, and I've taken cuttings and little root balls. I've thrown them against this fence line behind you. I've thrown them underneath some trees out there, and they're great. You really can't beat going outside, and it's like hitting up the grocery store, So I think it's definitely top tier fruit, S tier, S class. So, pardon me. Again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys are doing well. Hope life's good. Spring's treating you just fantastically. And take care of yourself out there. Catch you later.